mine. Yeah. If you know the beginning of that joke, send in a stamp, address, sealed envelope, and win a prize.
Right. Hello!
Hi.
Hi!
How's it going? Hi, Ron.
Hey, Clive, how's it going?
Ron.
How you doing?
I'm good. How's it going?
Happy New Year? Oh, no, we already did Happy New Year, right?
Yeah, fucking hell, Ron.
Yeah, sorry, that was you. So, yeah, but Happy February?
I believe that's how it's more or less pronounced.
Yes, is that when people will hear this?
No.
No.
This will go out in January, end of January.
End of January. Happy
January. Again.
Yeah, Happy January, everybody. Yes.
Right.
Happy end of January. Okay, so
hey, Ron.
Where are we? What's going on? What are we doing?
I've lost the will to live now. We're a bit rusty.
That's me banging my head on the table.
Yeah. We're a bit rusty. What do we normally do? Oh yeah, first we
Welcome to the Magic Morning Wood. How about that one? Right. Start with the title. What are we doing? Where are we?
I found the groove now. So
you can tell we're professionals at this, people.
Welcome to the Magic Morning Wood. Here we are.
Yes.
What are we doing here? Shit.
I'm Ron.
Yes, that's right, you are. And I'm Clive. And we're talking movie talk.
Movie talk. Movies that probably you haven't seen. So,
or you may have done.
Or you may have done.
It's not for us to judge.
Right. But there's I'd say a good chance that you haven't seen. But today's movie you may have seen because it was it was Oscar nominated, so it's quite possible it was.
I would say there's a really good chance that no one's listening as well.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, so that's a totally different discussion.
Yes.
I think so.
We're talking about. I do actually want to start this again. This is
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Spur Miller territory again. Right.
Cut.
Right.
Start again. Ready? Go.
Hi.
Oh. For God's sakes.
It'll get there. It's rustiness.
This is comedy gold, all of this right here. Brushing off the rust. Right?
Yeah. Rusty trombone. So. Right.
What's happening?
We need a countdown.
Yeah, okay. 3,
no,
2, 5, 3, 7.
What happened?
1, go.
Hi there, Ron. Fucking hell. Okay.
You want me to start it?
Yeah.
Okay, how would I do? Okay.
Right.
And take 57. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Magic Morning Wood. We are here. I'm Ron.
Wow, you make it look so easy.
It is. It's very easy, actually.
And I'm, who am I?
I don't know. You're Ben Davis?
Yes, I'm Ben Davis. Standing in for Clive Davis.
And this is the Magic Morning Wood. Welcome. Come with us, won't you, into the wood while we talk about movies which you probably haven't seen or heard of. But there it is. We talk about movies maybe that are cult classics or movies that you may or may not have seen or even have heard of. Certainly I've never heard of most of them before we do them. And today's episode we are talking about, Clive?
Well, this is my choice, and this is Waltz with Bashir from 2008.
2008, yes.
Ostensibly an Israeli film, but actually an Israeli, French, German, American, Finnish, Swiss. Yeah, it is Swiss, isn't it? But I wrote Swiss. So I was a bit confused there. But it is Swiss.
Swiss, yeah.
Not Switzerish.
No, Switzerish.
Switzerish. What's that one? Belgian, Australian co-production.
So basically, it's a global thing, right?
That's
global
right.
Word, yeah.
There's a lot of people involved.
Yeah, a lot of people involved.
Yeah, but basically Israeli.
Right. Yeah. So, and also interestingly nominated for Best Foreign Film at the Oscars in 2008.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I'd forgotten that, but yes.
So that's what I'm here for.
You tend to. I don't know how far back this goes, but nowadays, or for the past few years, you tend to watch all the Oscar nominee films.
Yeah, as much as I can.
Were you doing this in 2008? Did you watch this?
Often I don't do the foreign language films because, mostly because they require subtitles, and a lot of the
This is
completely legal versions that I watch often don't have subtitles available,
Right.
and so usually it takes another year or so to come out the proper versions that have the correct subtitles, and usually by then I've already moved on to something else. So oftentimes I never actually get to watch the foreign. So I think I believe I was still watching movies the mall in this year, but I think I definitely
you didn't see this?
I didn't see this one. This one
Okay.
was my first film.
So that's a first watch.
Yes, first watch.
Okay, and and it's also animated,
Yes.
and it's not as is sometimes. Some people think this is rotoscoped, right? Which
Right.
is when you film something in live action,
Right.
and then draw onto the
On top of
cells,
it,
which is a technique I'm actually very fond of. I quite like when people do this.
Right.
It has a certain look about it that you don't get.
Right. It was like that. What was that? That movie with the Dazed and Confused guy. The
Waking Life.
Waking Life. Yeah, that one was.
Yes,
was
and
okay, yes.
I think A Scanner Darkly.
Scared
as
Darkly.
well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Was, yeah. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has got a particular look, but apparently wasn't the case with this. They did shoot some live action footage, but then they just used it as reference,
or
I suppose.
basis. Yeah.
For the digital
Yeah.
animation. But it does have something of that flavour. I think.
Yeah, it does.
It's not entirely. It's not cartoonish.
No.
But it's not totally realistic
Right,
either. It
yeah.
kind of exists in this.
Right.
It's a nice looking.
Right.
film,
Yeah.
as I said.
Quite nice.
I think the props for this, I guess the art director credit goes to this guy David Polonsky. So I'm guessing he's as responsible as credited director Ari Folman.
Right.
And this is a film about it's about repressed memory, and it's about trauma, and it's about guilt,
Right.
and basically it kicks off with a guy who's having a recurring dream, right, of being chased by wild dogs.
Right. Specifically, there's a certain number. It was 19 or
26.
26.
I think. Yeah. And he's trying to figure out why this is happening to him.
Right.
And he's just about figured out that it has something to do about the time when he was in Lebanon in the 80s during the, well, depending on if you're Israeli, I suppose you call it the Lebanese War,
Right.
And if you're Lebanese, you call it the invasion of Lebanon, right?
Right. Okay. Right.
When he was there as part of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, which I believe Folman was, director Ari Folman.
Right.
So I think this is somewhat semi-autobiographical. Let's put it that way. And it's got something to do with when they were on manoeuvres during the Lebanese War. When they came upon a village at night time, for example, dogs would bark. So he was assigned the job of shooting the dogs,
Right.
so that they wouldn't give away the fact that they're there. And he remembers the exact number that he'd shot. And but he's kind of feels that there's something more to this. There's some greater memory or trauma being repressed, maybe. So he starts talking to old friends, old comrades who are in Lebanon like that. This is like more than 20 years after the fact, right? So he starts traveling around, talking to different people. He even goes to Holland at one point, right, to talk to a friend there he seems to have made a fortune selling falafel.
Right. Yes. Somehow.
Yeah. And we'll. I'm not sure if it counts as I suppose it is a spoiler, but anyway, we are going to be spoiling.
Yes.
So
All Spoilers for
Beware.
any
Yeah.
movie we talk about.
Yeah. And
So before we
Yeah.
dive more into this, while you talk a little bit about your experience with this movie, why did you choose it? What was your history with it?
I can't remember. I must have seen this not long after it was new, I suppose, and it got extremely good notices, and it sounded interesting. The subject matter interested me, and when I first saw it, I thought it was. I was really, really, really impressed with it. I thought it was an excellent film, and coming back to it, I still think it's a really, really, really good film, but I can't help but feel that I wasn't quite as wowed by it as I was the first time I saw it.
Right.
What
do you think was different?
Well, I suppose we'll get into that as we. But before we continue, then, what's a brief first opinion from you? Were you overall in favour of this film?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. I really liked what they were trying to do there, and definitely. I mean, we'll get to all the other stuff later, but just as a briefly, the final few minutes of the film suddenly snaps into real life.
Right.
Which sort of brings into focus the choice to make the rest of it all
I think so.
animated. Which at first I thought it was an interesting choice, but it was a confusing choice as to why did they decide to make it animated.
Right.
Until I finally saw the final few minutes of footage, which sort of was like, I get it now, right? So it was, which is of course to make it more palatable at first, right? You know, and sort of an idea. So
yeah, so well,
but yeah, I thought it was an interesting story, and I thought it was an interesting way of dealing with the subject matter without just making like a documentary about it, right? Making it almost like a story about someone. It was like a mystery trying to track down his past, and he has this kind of strange amnesia and trying to fill in the pieces and using interviews as a way to fill in sort of a documentary format, but in a way of kind of like filling in the pieces of his own memory. So I thought it was quite interestingly done.
You go along on that journey,
right? Yeah, with him. Yeah. So
I just realised the reason I'm stalling, kind of stalled halfway through there with the plus something, is actually you can race ahead really, and there's not that much to it.
No,
it's more about how they get
there. Yes, the journey.
Yeah. So basically, what is at the core of this film is that all of the main characters who were serving with the Israeli Defense Force were basically kind of present around the time of a notorious a massacre that happened in the Sabra and Shatila Palestine refugee camps, where the numbers are uncertain, but it seems to be somewhere between 450 to 3,500 mostly Palestinian refugees and some Lebanese Shiites in this refugee camp were murdered.
Yeah, massacred.
Yeah, by what we call the phalangists, right? Which were the extreme right wing of the Maronite Christians. Apparently in retaliation because Lebanese President Gemayel had been murdered, and they thought it had been done by Palestinian refugees or the PLO or whatever. And so I guess they've blocked out this massively traumatic event, and maybe one of the reasons they have blocked it out is they're kind of wondering how complicit they were in
they were guilty. They felt guilty about the fact that they were probably killing people needlessly, right? So,
and I was wondering actually because all of this stuff is in the film. For instance, about how these flares had gone up, which apparently these Israelis had sent up so that the phalangists could see what they were doing, right? But and it is all there in the film, but it's kind of interesting because I'd seen the film before and I'd gone away and kind of researched about this because I didn't know much about it. And then watching it again, I could see, for you watching it the first time, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you weren't overly familiar with this piece of history.
No, I wasn't. No,
Right.
yes, sir.
So did you find the film confusing on first viewing?
I-
Did you have to look things up to confirm them? Or?
I didn't really get that the specificity of the particular massacre was that even important. It was more like it was sort of like the horrors of war generalized kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So I wasn't familiar with the Lebanese War specifically, and I think I quickly looked it up on like Wikipedia, and actually there's more than one war that is called the Lebanese War. So actually it took me a while to kind of piece together which one it was kind of thing. But I don't think it was really that important that you understood exactly who these people were or what they were doing. I didn't really even get that, which is why they didn't explain it, right? So I didn't get the point that they needed to tell us the history because there was no history before it. It was just sort of like, this is what happened, and you either know or you don't.
Right.
And I don't think I lost any. I guess I don't think I lost anything by not knowing that beforehand, but. Of course, not having that, I don't know if I did lose anything. But
I think you're absolutely right, because it affected me the first time I saw it, and I didn't know this either.
Right.
But in answer to my specific question, so that stuff the specifics I just said that you didn't get that from the film.
No, I didn't.
This is the first time you're hearing it in that detail.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
But no, I do tend to agree with you that even though that is interesting as well.
Right.
I mean, and the good thing, one of the good things about the film is, if you are interested, it'll send you
in the
direction.
Exactly.
But yes, no, I broadly agree with you that actually the specifics aren't necessarily that important.
Necessary. Yeah. So.
And certainly you don't need to know them going in.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So
I assume if you did know the specifics, it would enrich your viewing experience, but I don't know if that's the case or not. But.
I don't know actually if that's the case, because, like I said, my second viewing was slightly less rewarding than the first viewing, but I don't know if that was because of that.
Right.
I think it kind of. I was thinking about this a little bit, how I was actually going to articulate this, because I'm not quite sure myself. But I think it's more to do with how I've changed rather than the film.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's to do with maybe, for me at least, I have a feeling that if you're going to deal with subject matter like this, you kind of have to, I think there's an obligation to know what you're talking about. Right? So therefore, whenever I see a filmmaker tackle a weighty subject like this, I always assume, and maybe wrongly so, that they wouldn't have taken it on without that sense of responsibility.
Right, yeah.
So, and I'm not saying this film's irresponsible in any way, shape, or form, but I think the first time I saw it, I was so kind of. It is a good film. Don't get me. It's a very good film. It's very good film. But I took it for granted that I think like a decade ago or something, my concept of world politics were a little bit more vague, and certainly I've got a lot left to learn. But I feel I know a lot more now than I did 10 years ago.
Right.
So I think I kind of took for granted that the film. It's not an accuracy question. I think it's more to do with like kind of the tone of it or something like that. And now I feel that the film is a little more flippant, maybe,
really?
than I originally thought.
In what way?
See, that's a very good question. I'm not quite sure.
Can you give an example of a time that you thought, oh, that was a little bit flippant?
Maybe flippant's not the word. Maybe it's more to do with like watching it this time. It's
flippant in an irresponsible way.
No, that's the thing. I think more to do with. Okay, let's retract the flippant thing then. Maybe that's the wrong word. I think I saw a depth there. Let's put it that way. The first time I saw it,
So it was
that I don't see.
It was shallower now.
No, not shallow, but shallower, but not
Yeah.
shallow.
Yeah.
So I just feel that I think when I first saw this, because I knew next to nothing about this period of time.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of gave it the benefit of the doubt in terms of, oh wow, this really captures
Right.
this time.
Right.
And
Place. Yeah.
but now I feel that it's not necessarily that remarkable
Okay.
in that way.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be. And like you said, maybe it's
So it
a
was
little-
lacking something.
well, yeah, maybe lacking detail and specificity, but like you said, maybe that's actually deliberate. Maybe in a way, like you said, the reaction is you're supposed to react to it more along the lines of the horrors of war
Right.
in general,
Uh-huh.
more than specifics.
Right.
And I think watching it a second time, I expected to pick up more. Like, okay, now I understand. Okay. But it wasn't that. It was I know a little bit more detail than him. Whereas I assumed that
Right.
that there was more there.
Uh.
But that's not a criticism. Like I said, I think it's more about
Well, you-
me than
yeah.
the film.
Right.
So, so again, it might be one of those things where it's you have to maybe on a third viewing, I might appreciate it even more because
or even less.
well, more likely even more. I think because I had high expectations and then it didn't quite reach them, and then going
Okay.
in next time, I'd probably
Low expectations.
and
Better.
kind of take it on its own terms a bit more.
Well, how do you think this movie would be received or affected by someone who actually was like directly involved with this period or this place, like Palestinians or Lebanese people who were there?
Well, interestingly, it's banned in Lebanon.
Is it?
Yeah,
Mm.
I wasn't aware of that, but apparently it is officially banned. But I don't think it's banned necessarily. I might be wrong, but I don't think it's banned because of having an objectionable message or anything.
Uh-huh.
I think it's more to do with the Lebanese government being a bit sensitive about this history being raked over in any way, shape or form.
Mm.
So I think it's more of a blanket kind of ban on talking about it at all, rather than
Right.
having because it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be an objectionable message, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, if it paints the Lebanese as murderers, right? I guess, right? So,
a certain faction. Yes, you're quite right. What I mean is I don't know if that's. I don't think this is like. I think it's very well known history,
Right.
certainly in Lebanon, right? So I don't think it's like a secret that they let the cat out of the bag or anything.
Are the Lebanese sort of? Do they own it? Like the Germans, for example? Like do they say, yeah, we did that and we're sorry, it's a thing, or do they still pretend that they didn't do it or that it never existed, never happened?
I think I'm not sure if they pretend it didn't happen necessarily, but I think it's probably closer to that side of it than
That they
feeling
just don't want to talk about it.
Yes, I think so, because in a
But
way,
do they flat out deny it?
Not anymore. I don't think. I'm not an expert on this, but I don't think there's a blanket denial anymore. But I think the problem with it as well is that it's part of an ongoing narrative, right? Because you still have the Palestinian refugee problem,
Right.
and you still have them being demonized by certain people, and so it's not over and done with yet, really. So
Right.
I think it's difficult for anyone to come to terms with it. So that aside, if you're not you shouldn't necessarily expect a dissection of this specific event, right?
Right.
I guess that would be fair
Mhm.
to say. Although it is probably a very good starting point.
Right.
Anyway, I feel as if I've been talking for ages. Say something, Ron.
Well, it's because I was asking you questions.
No, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Go ahead. You have any thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, are you finished with your synopsis and everything?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, unless you want to go somewhere else with this. So let's talk about what you were saying earlier about the Switch.
The Switch.
So from
to the reality.
yeah,
the real things, okay.
I thought you were
talking about your feelings on this.
No.
Okay.
So just to spell it out then,
Right, yeah.
in case we were a bit vague about it. So the last few minutes of the film is not animated.
Yes.
It's live action and it's actual footage of the aftermath of the massacre.
Right, which is like piles of dead bodies
Yeah.
and
It's fairly horrific.
yeah. Fairly is the word for it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very much a kind of gut punch.
Yeah. And definitely having the switch from animation to suddenly being that
Yes.
definitely emphasizes that gut punch a lot. Yes.
Yes, and so people should pay attention as well. It's not because the switch would happen and you wouldn't necessarily
notice that it happened. Yeah. So
and I've heard some people. Some people don't like this.
I could see that it could be seen as a bit heavy-handed in terms of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also I think some people think maybe it's shock value.
Shock value, yeah. Exactly.
But in terms of the
or a bit of what's the word? I'm totally lost my vocabulary today. Just to make it look amazing, right? I guess
you mean like sensationalism?
Sensation.
Right.
Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah,
Okay.
sensationalism. Yeah, kind of thing. Right?
Yes, but then I was thinking about this because I've never had a problem with it, but sometimes you kind of you instinctively go with something, but then you don't necessarily know why, and you can't spell it out. So I was thinking about it. Why don't I have a problem with this? And I suppose the reason is because it does fit the narrative, right? Because in a way, the majority of the film, the main characters are finding their way through this kind of mental fog,
right?
And it's kind of light-hearted.
At times, yeah.
Yeah. So, for instance, again, not less specific to this war, but there is a certain. What do I know? I've never been to war, but from what I understand, as well as all the horrors, there is camaraderie, and of course you try to stop yourself from going crazy. You do make the best out of a bad situation, right? So there's a lot of scenes of these kind of young, fresh kids kind of trying to grab their kicks where they can, right? In particular, there's a scene where they go surfing, which is straight out of Apocalypse Now, right? That scene was. I think that was the only bit that was slightly jarring for me because it felt so Apocalypse. I'm not saying it didn't. Maybe that did happen. They did go surfing, but you can't put that in a movie without everyone immediately thinking of Apocalypse Now. And there's lots of flights of fancy as well. So there's lots of hallucinatory flights of fancy, which are great.
Yeah.
But because of all of this, the majority of the movie, I think, almost lets the main characters off the hook in a way, because they're never faced exactly with what happened.
Right.
And then if you notice the timing of when they do show the footage, it's exactly when it's kind of, no doubt about it, revealed exactly what happened.
Yeah,
and because they're kind of, as soon as they see it in flashback, as soon as they approach it, bang! It's almost like, okay,
it's almost but I say it's almost representational of their inner of their inner life, right? Which is that it's sort of like a dream or kind of mental fog, and then once they finally understand what happened, then they snap into reality.
It's like it's like okay, enough.
Yeah, I buy that.
Enough messing around.
Exactly.
Like, this is what happened.
Is it, and I remember it now. Now before the idea is like I can't quite remember. Why can't I remember? Oh, now I remember, and this is what it looked like.
Plus, there's an element of well, so I still don't quite have to face it. I can still, but then
no, you can't.
Boom. And that's it. And then the credits roll. There's no discussion about it. There's no post-mortem.
No.
And so I was thinking of it in that context. It actually works really well. Exactly what it was.
Right. So I don't like if things are done kind of like sensationalist or done it just for shock value. So I could see where people would be upset by that, and I could see it. Potentially, if I saw it, I might get that. It's like, oh well, you didn't need to do that. I was like, but I wasn't bothered with, which is why I can buy into that. Which is that there was a choice for that, and a logical and valid choice to do it that way, and so that wasn't just for shock value. And I think it was fine, and it definitely had the effect that I think it was meant to. So
and I'm guessing as well. I suppose tying in a little bit to. Why it might be banned or why some people might have a problem with it as well, I suppose, is the fact that it comes from the Israeli viewpoint. Right. And I suppose if you're of a certain demographic, then you would label the IDF as the aggressors. Right. Even though it was the Phalangists, the Maronites, but they were kind of inclusion with the IDF, and it's part of course, a broader, Palestinian Muslim versus, Christian Jewish, side of things. So I suppose it's kind of like. A good example would be now, not so much, but I would imagine prior to maybe the 70s or the 80s, I would imagine some people would have had a problem with looking at the Second World War from the Nazi viewpoint, which was sympathetic. Well, now we can make those movies. Now, But I'm wondering,
there's a distance.
And plus as well, it's not just a generational thing. I think it's there's that history has been combed over more. I think, and I think now we're a bit more comfortable with finding common ground with our enemy.
Putting ourselves in other shoes.
Because these things take a long time to sort out, right? And they're collected. And I'm wondering if the war in Lebanon is still it's a bit too recent.
It's still
and still a part of a larger ongoing conflict. So I'm wondering how much patience someone in a Palestinian refugee camp would have with some Israelis mourning about their traumas.
Exactly. I can see how it might be seen as insensitive from the massacred point of view, right? So
even though
it's like, oh, why can't I remember this? Oh, I feel so sad that this happened to me. Yeah.
But of course we don't actually think that. We don't need
no. But also, I mean, to play the other side of that, I mean, it might be also cathartic or at least nice for the massacred side to know that there was some kind of guilt or regret being felt,
or even just recognition
that or recognition that it wasn't like a good thing, or that
and largely totally unprompted.
And that it was, I mean, and they made a point of showing that it was like that the circles within circles, right? That it was like the people only in the middle who knew what was happening, but the people outside that circle had a job, and then the people outside that circle had to do the flares, and then blah, blah, blah. And that it was a lot of people in the outside circles didn't know what was happening on the inside circles, and then it was sort of like they were complicit, but they didn't know what was actually they were being complicit in, right? So,
and I suppose depending on how you, I suppose the film's quite good in that in regard as well. Is it? I think it addresses that issue. I don't think it's trying to let anyone off the hook, but neither is it trying to condemn anyone. It's just kind of saying, well, this is how we saw it, and actually it's quite good in a way. You never see the characters, like, what do they, after those last few minutes, if that represents them hitting reality hard and actually coming to terms with what they may or may not have been involved with.
Right.
Like, what happens next? Like,
how do you live with yourself if you know that you were a murderer?
Because you can go either way, right? You can either kind of take it on board too much, or you can disassociate and I didn't know, or so it's a talking point, right? But I suppose you could argue that to be able to make it into a talking point is the luxury of people who don't live in refugee camps.
Yeah, I guess. Yes.
So,
yeah.
So I can certainly see why it might not be welcome in certain places.
Right.
But you have to. I think you have to take the objective view here, and I mean, it would be ridiculous of either of us who have nothing to do with
anything. Yeah. So.
I think we can only take it on face value, and I would.
But of course,
I don't have a problem with this film.
But of course, to be fair, making it as a film, he's opening it. He's not just making it for his side or the other side.
No, exactly.
He's making it for the world
exactly.
to see whether and for the majority of people who would probably see it, or people who had no connection with it in the first place. So,
and I think, broadly speaking, I would say that it's certainly not trying to sell any agenda.
No, and I don't think it was. Yeah.
And I think you'd have to be on a kind of extreme viewpoint to think it was. But if there'd be a reason you were at that, you'd have been a victimized. I could understand why a victimized people would have that viewpoint,
right.
But there's no point us kind of. We're lucky to not be those victimized people.
Yes,
and there's no real relevance in us pretending that we are, right? So
I mean, I don't think there was an agenda in terms of like asking people to choose sides in the conflict, but I do think there was at least a war is hell kind of theme to it, though. I mean, at the very least, it was like war is bad.
Yes, and I can see as well how some people might think, and so what? That's just diffusing. Let's get to the specifics,
right?
Because that's always the. I don't think this film is guilty of it, but that tone sometimes it can be the last resort of a losing argument, right? Like when the argument gets so far, then it's just we're all capable of blah blah blah, which is true. But we didn't, you did, and then it starts all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but no, it's a. I mean, I didn't think I'd have that much to say about it. But clearly, I did, and you did as well. So it's certainly.
Well, what if you didn't think you'd have much to say about it? Why did you choose it?
No. I mean, I didn't think I'd have that much about. I was alarmed at how little I think I'd have to say after watching it the second time.
Oh, I see.
But no, the reason I did watch it was because I thought I would. And it turned out I was right.
Right, okay.
So, go me.
Yay. But I would say just aesthetically, I thought the animation was quite beautiful.
Yes.
Very well done. Yeah.
Really nice score as well.
Nice score. Yeah,
I've got to write down.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting characters. It was
right.
I thought it was a very nice piece of cinema. Yeah,
good cover version of. I apologize. This is another thing I forgot to. For some reason, I didn't do my notes properly like I normally did.
Oh, right.
A nice cover version of the what's the original? Where do they bomb in the original? There's a punk song, right? I bombed somewhere today.
Oh,
and in this, it's I bombed Beirut today, right? This is the.
Oh, right. It was yeah. Here, I'll look it up now. You keep talking while I look.
Okay.
Fill the space.
Okay. So anyway, I went shopping today. Boy.
I bombed Korea by originally by Cake.
There we go, Cake.
Yeah.
Yes.
I bombed Korea,
Yes.
but it's called Beirut.
Yes.
And it was performed by
Someone
Zev Ten.
Okay. I think I actually prefer this cover version.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But they also had it was by a John Lydon song too, right? It was like a
Yes, Public Image. This is not a love song.
Yeah, it's not a love song.
And there was another early '80s thing as well when they're on the boat coming in and he's throwing up on the boat, but I couldn't remember who sang that. But it's very much of that era.
There's one performed by the Clique.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, Incubator. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was well put together piece
Also,
of film.
it is 4 years in the making apparently, and some really arresting image. I suppose the one that stayed with me ever since I first watched it is they're bathing just off the coast.
Yeah.
And the cityscapes right up to the edge of the beach.
Yeah.
And then the flares
come up, and kind of highlights the cityscape.
And they're floating in the water.
Yeah, which they come back to that a few times.
Yeah.
Because that's the image that he keeps remembering. That he can remember.
And particularly the score is really kind of heartbreaking. And there's something really powerful. So I've always remembered those images.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. So, and do you want to talk a little bit about why it's called Waltz with Bashir? That scene.
Well, you go ahead because I forget.
Actually, I kind of forget too. So I was going to say, but it was something to do with like there were.
Well, Bashir
is the name of the president or the
Bashir Gemayel. Yeah, he was the
president of the time, right?
Yes,
and then there was something to do with the one guy
with a machine gun.
So it came out and started shooting, and it looked like he was waltzing.
Right.
And it was because there's a big picture of Bashir or something, and that's what.
So he was waltzing.
Yeah.
I also looked up very briefly trivia, and somewhere in there it's a Slaughterhouse-5 reference as well, apparently. But that went way over my head. But it's been many years since I read Slaughterhouse-5.
Right.
But actually, that's a kind of an interesting. There's another interesting connection. It does have a bit of a Slaughterhouse-5 vibe to it, right? That kind of just absurdity of. And actually, I hadn't thought about this until now, so the listener will forgive me struggling to find my words once again. But thinking about it, it has a lot in common with Slaughterhouse-5 and the bombing of Dresden in terms of coming to terms with the trauma. Because I think Kurt Vonnegut, I don't know if he ever sat down and expressed this like specifically in an interview any time, or if it was so kind of obvious that it didn't need it to be said. But obviously, Kurt Vonnegut, extraordinary writer. Obviously, he was in Dresden when it was bombed, and he was affected by it. But clearly, it deeply affected him so much that Kurt Vonnegut must be one of the few examples of a proper post-traumatic stress disorder writer. I think Kurt Vonnegut, because I've seen interviews with Kurt Vonnegut, and he just seems like cracked. He just clearly something's broken somewhere, and the fact that he could keep it together long enough to write like he did is extraordinary. But he's obviously something just never mended. So that's interesting to compare with the trauma.
On that note, I actually don't know. Did the creator of this movie, was he involved with this Was he like where is he from? Like, what's his connection?
Yeah, no, I think
was it actually his story?
Like I said, I think it's semi-autobiographical. I think Ari Folman was sent to Lebanon with the IDF. I think when he was like 19 or something.
Okay,
like that.
so he was involved. So is the main character like supposed to be him, or is it loosely based, or is it?
I'm guessing, and this is total guess, but the first character goes to speak to someone who's a filmmaker, right? He's the first guy who tells the story.
Right.
I'm guessing that
was him, right?
Yeah.
So it's someone told him the story and he decided to do the story of it.
Well, maybe so, but I think he was a veteran of the Lebanese War. I think,
right.
As far as I know. Yes. So Waltz with Bashir is very much worth watching, isn't it, Ron?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, give it a shot. I was pleasantly surprised about this one. Yeah.
That I chose a film you actually liked.
Well, it was like, oh, here we go, another something with Bashir, and I was like something from the Middle East.
Oh yeah, all those films about Bashir.
Well, no, I just like, I don't know. I think it was gonna be another like international guerrillas or something.
Okay.
I know what to expect. So
right.
But it was quite enjoyable. So, or not when I would say. I don't know. Can you say a film like this is enjoyable?
I think it is in a way.
I
mean, that's part of it, right? In a way, is I think we're slightly complicit in the guilt because it is quite enjoyable.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
So no, I don't think that's unfair. Or rather, you shouldn't feel guilty to say it is enjoyable,
right?
Because it is. Yeah, it's very well. No, it's great. I just wanted to mention briefly the slightly disappointing. Did you ever see the Congress?
No.
Okay, this was the film the same creative team made after this, and using the same animated technique.
Right.
But it's more of a. I can't remember what the percentage would. I don't think it's quite 50-50, but it was. There is live action in that movie. It's a live action animated film, based on. Stanislav Lem novel, science fiction novel called Futurological Congress.
Okay.
And then 2013 movie called The Congress, which so I'm a fan of Stanislav Lem's writings. I like this novel in particular. It's very it's got a bit of a Philip K. Dick kind of flavour to it, and as soon as it came out, I thought, the same people who made Waltz with Bashir, Stanislav Lem adaptation, this is going to be fucking great. And it wasn't at all.
It wasn't.
I was really disappointed by the Congress.
Right.
And I could imagine lots of people were as well coming off the back of Waltz with Bashir, and even if they weren't Stanislav Lem films, then they just another movie by the same filmmaker, right? Animated and it clearly attracted A-listers as well because
Robin Wright,
Harvey Keitel.
Is Harvey Keitel an A-lister? I don't know.
Well, I think he's even better than that, right? He's gone beyond the list, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Paul Giamatti was in it. Yeah, so.
Who?
Paul Giamatti.
Yes. Yeah.
John Hamm.
Yeah, no, and it sounds good, right?
Yeah, it
but
does.
But it's not.
Really, it's not.
Yeah.
I was looking. I was like, well, this looks good, but no.
Yeah, no. I think that was one of the biggest disappointments in recent years, just in terms of what I was expecting.
Versus the reality.
A real letdown.
Too bad.
Yep.
That was 2013.
Sad note to go out on.
Too bad. Has he done anything since then? That was 6 years ago.
What was he? I saw he's working on something now because obviously his projects take a long time.
Right.
He's working on something now, which is a version of some. It's something to do with the Girl in the Attic. Anne Frank.
Oh, is he? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Something about Anne Frank, I believe, is the next project.
That's a good title.
Something about Anne Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whimsical romantic comedy in which Matthew McConaughey meets a girl in an attic while Nazis look around downstairs and stop every now and again and go, hang on, can you hear typing? Nah. Right.
Sounds like he has been doing a Spanish Argentinian TV show for quite a long time.
Who, Ari Feldman?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean doing?
He writes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Writes.
Yeah, no, I don't know much about him, to be honest with you, outside of Waltzford Bashir and the Congress. Maybe he does have another active life doing something.
Right.
But
Anyway,
anyway, Waltzford Bashir.
worth a look.
Yeah, check it out.
All right, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And
I don't think I have anything witty to say.
no.
What we'll do, we'll just cut and we'll have a few minutes of sounds of people being shot and massacred to bring you to your senses.
That's our
Yeah.
version of the
Yeah.
commentary. So okay,
So-
so enjoy.
Yeah.
Hey, see you later.
Bye.